Hello, I'm Kris Lee. Welcome back to LeeToledo. I'm so excited to spend this afternoon with you explaining about green cards for relatives. It's a frequently asked question and one that many people are curious about because there are different categories and that will determine how long this process will take. So the first question is, what are the conditions to obtain a green card via relatives? And that can be categorized into two preferences. One would be immediate relatives, and the other is family preference. So then you're probably curious, well, what is considered an immediate relative? So the first priority goes to either a spouse of a U.S. citizen or a fiance of a U.S. citizen. So bear that in mind that when you are marrying a U.S. citizen and you may be in the U.S. and you lost your status, you overstayed, you can still marry a U.S. citizen and be able to adjust your out of status stay into a position where you can get a green card, but also do a concurrent filing so that you can qualify to work legally and travel legally into and out of the USA. Okay? So I think that's very important that sometimes, you fall in love and you want to get married and then you think, oh, I can't marry you because I'm out of status. Well, rest assured that if you're marrying a U.S. citizen, those issues can be addressed, and that is considered the first priority when doing a family-based immediate relative petition. The second priority for an immediate relative goes to unmarried children who are 21 and younger of a U.S. citizen. So maybe you have a child who who has not been living with you. They're out of the country, and since birth, they weren't in the country and didn't even know they had that they could have U.S. citizenship. This person qualifies. Maybe you adopt a child. That's another way for an immediate relative of somebody, orphans adopted in abroad by a U.S. citizen, and then if you bring them in, they immediately also get U.S. citizenship as well. And the interesting thing about getting U.S. citizenship for an orphan born outside the U.S. is that the processing time is usually about 24 months, but you can also come in under different visas, such as an SB1, in which you can also get an immediate green card at least, so that you can get a social security number and you can travel in and out of the U.S. So that's a initial step before gaining a U.S. citizenship, okay? The other option and another priority that's considered a fourth priority for an immediate relative is an orphan to be adopted by a U.S. citizen. So that's another category that's similar to an orphan who's already adopted, but this would be for children who are going to be adopted. And the last category for a U.S. immediate relative would be the parent of a U.S. citizen. And for that, the child must be at least 21 years of age before making the petition. So if you have a child who's at least 21 years of age, but you have a parent who is not a U.S. citizen, you can certainly petition for that parent. And then now the next step is the other category, which is establishing a immediate relative relationship. That's a category that usually takes anywhere from 7 to 10 plus years or more for it to be processed. And so one of the things that you have to keep in mind is that these are not considered immediate relatives. They're more distant, and therefore there is a longer period of time to wait. Whereas in the first immediate relative category, we're talking, most of the time, from 6 months to possibly 2 years, but it normally does not take as long as that unless there's a backlog at USCIS. I think all of you understand that there's a difference between immediate relative and family preference, and that has a strong bearing on how long the process will take. Another issue that is impactful on both immediate relatives as well as family preference is what I touched on earlier, which is making sure that you are healthy to be able to immigrate to the U.S., and that requires an examination by an authorized physician by USCIS. The other issue, and all of these are categorized under grounds of admissibility. You may not be able to be granted admissibility to come into the U.S. because of the health reason, but also maybe you've got immigration violations, meaning maybe for some reason there is a bar on you to be able to, if you're coming from outside the country and not adjusting status, that there's a bar of 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years. The other is a criminal record. If you have a certain criminal records, as I explained earlier, there may be waivers that could be applied, but those would be grounds for inadmissibility into the U.S. The other thing that I want to discuss is that some of these benefits may be able to apply by a green card holder, but it is always better for a U.S. citizen to do so because you get the full benefits of having somebody who is a U.S. citizen sponsoring you and petitioning for you. And that, in the time periods for that, is much faster. And another important topic that I always like to discuss with my audience is the getting your information from an experienced attorney, and who's an attorney, not a consultant, not a salesperson. Attorneys are here to share the law with you, and so that you can make an informed decision. And so it's important that you are cognizant of where you're getting your information, because you want to get accurate information, because if you don't have accurate information, if you don't have the resources to complete the I-130 in a correct manner, it can mean a denial or a rejection. And one thing you need to keep in mind is that on average, USCIS receives about 248,000 I-130 forms, and of that group, about 19,000, over 19,000, I think, over 19,000 get rejected, and then another almost 16,000 are denied, okay? So, a lot of time and money goes into completing these applications, and you have to think about the personal component, which is that your loved one may not be able to join you in the U.S. So keep those things in mind. LeeToledo is here to help you and with the information as well as your immigration benefit, and feel free to reach out to us through our website or Instagram, and I look forward to seeing you again. It's been a pleasure. This is Kris Lee from LeeToledo. Thank you again, and bye-bye.